Hello and welcome to the Mancast, and this is not just any old episode. This is actually the first episode that I'm putting out. The idea of tonight's episode, if you've seen the title, it kind of gives it away a little bit. I'm going to be talking about men's mental health, and the reason I'm going to be talking about that, and basically the whole reason this channel come about in the first place, was I am a guy who has had issues with his mental health in the past and present and probably future too. I have been to the depths of it. I've been as pretty much as low as you can go, and I'm still here, and I'm now talking to a camera, hoping that my message can show that, do you know what, it never gets easy, but it gets easier. So the whole idea of this channel really was to talk openly and honestly about some very difficult subject matter, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, which means it's going to be a difficult listen at times. It's going to be difficult for me to talk about at times, but I know that talking about it has helped me, and hopefully my honesty can help other guys as well to talk and find the help that they need and help themselves to move forward. So that's what this channel is about. In the future, I'm going to have some more guys on here with me. We're going to have these raw conversations, these real, open, painful at times conversations, but we're also going to have a laugh, because sometimes in life you do need to laugh. And whilst we're talking about serious subjects, we do want to have a bit of humour with it as well. Not tonight though. Well, we'll see. I'll keep it as light-hearted as I possibly can, but we are talking about a very serious subject matter tonight, and that is men's mental health, as I've already stated. When I will go into, in a future episode, my experience from where I was to where I am now. But when I was at my lowest, just briefly, I had no idea that mental health was a thing, if that makes sense. Even though I was going through it, I thought it was just me. There was something wrong with me, and it was my issue, so it got bottled up inside myself, put to one side, and it's my issue to deal with, and kind of embarrassed to actually be honest and talk about it. You'll hear that word a lot on this channel, just talk, because it helps. Blokes, as we'll delve into in this episode, I'm sure, we find it very difficult to do so, and there are some very legitimate reasons behind that. I want to try and help to end that stigma, and if I can come on here, and this is open for anyone to watch, and spill my guts and talk honestly, hopefully it'll encourage other guys to step forward. So that's enough little waffling about what this podcast is going to be about. Let's actually get into this podcast episode. So I've got some articles that I want to bring up, which kind of highlight the issue, and hopefully some positive steps for people to make for themselves or for loved ones who we know are going through a hard time. So the first one I want to bring up, and viewer discretion advised, and I will try and use my words carefully, because it's a very difficult subject matter, I'm sure, but this is on Wikipedia. So a trusted source as far as you can trust Wikipedia, but this is about people taking their own life in the United Kingdom. So the article states that in 2023 there were 7,055 deaths in the UK officially registered as people taking their own lives, equating to an average of 19 every single day. 19 people every single day in the UK by their own hands are sadly no longer here. 6,069 of those were registered in England and Wales, marking the highest rate in England and Wales since 1999. That's, 26 years ago? 16 years ago. My maths is brilliant, isn't it? 26 years ago. In Scotland, there were 792 probable people taking their own life in 2023, which was an increase of 30 to the previous year in Scotland, and in Northern Ireland there were 221. I want to highlight this one here, and this is why specifically I want to deal with men's mental health. I want to say just off the bat, before I get too deep into it, I'm not, and I hope this is evident, I'm not saying I only care about men and their mental health and women, I don't care. It's not that. I'm a man. I'm a man who has had his issues, and I've got mates who are also men who have their issues, and sadly I've had mates who were men who are no longer here. So it really is a subject matter close to my heart. Anyone who's not a man out there who's in need, please go and seek the help. But I'm not the person to listen to because, again, like I said, I'm a man. So to go back to the article and the one I highlighted, or the line I highlighted, men taking their own life is the biggest killer of men under the age of 50. The biggest. That means that as a man under 50, I am, every time I leave the house in the morning, no matter what I'm doing, what I've got planned for the day, the thing I need to fear most is myself. Beyond anything else, the biggest threat in my life is me. I am more dangerous to myself than getting in a car accident, violent assault, an illness, anything like that. The biggest threat to myself of a man my age, under 50, is myself. And I come very close in a previous time in my life of making that come true. That is why I'm so passionate about it, because when I was nearly taking those actions, I had no idea that this was an issue amongst men. I thought it was an issue in my head. It was my issue, and I didn't know who I could actually speak with, reach out to, whether people would understand. I didn't understand it. I still don't fully understand it, to be honest. I just know that bottling stuff up does not help. Talking about stuff, talking about those issues and actually trying to deal with those issues, I can't tell you why it works, but it does. Sometimes actually knowing other people are going through issues, it's going to sound a bit dark. Knowing you're not the only one that's going through that crap is helpful, because you realise you're not alone through this, and there are people who They might be going through a different circumstance, but they know that pain, they know that darkness, that feel of loneliness, that feeling of, I don't get it, so how will other people? And I don't know how to express myself, so how will other people actually understand what I'm saying? Reach out and get that help, and it's out there. And again, I will touch on this further in the episode, but to go back to Wikipedia, these are some of the stats. So age standardized rates generally fell between 1981 and 2007, with rates blah blah blah. Where do we get to? Males taking their own life have consistently accounted for approximately 3/4 of all people taking their own life in the UK since mid 1990s. So for 20 odd years, 3/4 of people taking their life in the UK are men. We are 49% of the population, I believe. There are slightly more women than men, and yet 3/4 of people ending their life are guys. It's clearly an issue. And the stats actually, I said at the start of reading this article that there are 19 every single day. There are, on average, 12 guys every day. One man every single 2 hours. Every 2 hours, a man which is maybe a stranger to you, but that is somebody's son, somebody's dad, somebody's uncle, friend, husband. These are people who leave behind people, and I've experienced firsthand the pain that can leave behind. These are not nobodies. These are guys who depression has a funny way of, at least it did with me, and I can only speak on my own experience. I had people in my life that I love to bits, that I absolutely worship, that I would do absolutely anything for. My depression had got me to a point where I'd actually convinced myself that not being here anymore would be beneficial for my family. I can look back now and say that is wrong, just 100% wrong. And I look at the people who I've got in my life who I know would be beyond devastated by me not being here. Depression can do some funny things. Not funny haha, just funny as in what the do some funny things to your mind. And honestly, it got me to the point where I had convinced myself that the people I care most about were better off without me. Mental health it's a bitch. It is. It's horrible, or poor mental health, should I say, because we all have mental health. Poor mental health, bad mental health conditions. It's nonsensical. It's infuriating, and you beat yourself up for the fact that you're feeling a certain way, which then in turn makes you feel more that way, and then you beat yourself up more, and it's a vicious circle. Especially when you don't have an outlet or somewhere where you believe you can not only talk but talk and be heard. And that's a big thing, because I didn't believe years ago when I was at my lowest, if I spoke, that people would hear me. And honestly, if I did talk and they did hear me, I'm not so sure that I'd have been receptive to the fact that they heard me and they listened and they cared. It's tough, and especially for men. So next article I want to bring up, and this is on this is Mental Health Foundation mentalhealth.org.uk, and it is the Mental Health Foundation, and this is specifically men and mental health. So before I go for this content mentions people taking their own lives or thinking about it, depression, substance abuse, or addiction. So please, it says, please read with care, please listen with care, and read through. It's on the screen. The summary of what it discusses is, first one, why don't men talk about mental health? We've touched on it lightly. I've touched on myself lightly, should have said. Next one, is depression different for men? That's one I don't know, because I've only ever been a man. But the statistics are alarming. Men and taking their own life. What can I do if I'm worried about my mental health? Which is, we're not just going to do problems, we want solutions too. And we want to, as I said right at the start of this podcast, try and show some positive steps that we can all take if we're in this situation. And the last one, which is a huge one, I'm worried about someone's mental health. How can I help them? So just some more stats here. 3 times as many men as women die by their own hands. Men aged 40 to 49 have the highest rates in the UK. Okay, that's 2 big ones that are huge here. In addition, men are far more likely than women to go missing, sleep rough, become dependent on alcohol, or use drugs frequently. Men get a rough deal sometimes, and sometimes rightly so, but it's difficult, more difficult than we actually let on, being a guy sometimes. So why don't men talk about mental health? Break this down. So society's expectations and traditional gender roles play a role in why men are less likely to discuss or seek help for their mental health problems. We know that gender stereotypes about women, the idea they should behave or look a certain way, for example, can be damaging to them. But it's important to understand that stereotypes and expectations can also damage men. Men are often expected to be the breadwinners, be strong, dominant, in control. While these aren't inherently bad things, which they're not, they can make it harder for men to reach out for help and open up, because myself personally, I felt like I'd failed at being a man. Blokes don't talk about this kind of stuff, therefore blokes can't feel like this. And then you scratch beneath the surface and find out men's mental health is such a national issue. Actually, do you know what? Maybe we need to occasionally put our bravado away and be honest, which again is hopefully what this episode is going to be about, and I'm going to come spill my guts and say, I don't care. I'm past caring. I know talking helps, so I'm going to talk and try and set an example. Not the best example, I know, but try and set an example. Men may also be more likely to use potentially harmful coping methods such as drugs or alcohol, and less likely to talk to family or friends about their mental health. However, research suggests men will get help that meets their preference and is easy to access, meaningful and engage. For example, men's sheds, where we use our hands and it's still manly, provides community spaces for men to connect and chat whilst using our hands. And it's that thing, talking, but it's trying to encourage guys that actually, do you know what? You don't need to feel embarrassed. You don't need to feel ashamed by it. If there is an issue there, bottling up is it's not doing nothing. It's not going to make the problem go away. That problem's still there. So is depression different for men? While there isn't a different sort of male depression, it's got it in air quotes there. So some symptoms are more common in men and women. They include irritability, sudden anger, increased loss of control, risk-taking and aggression. Men may also be more likely to use alcohol and drugs to cope with their depression rather than talk about it. They also throw themselves into work. Men and taking their own lives. We've already touched on this. It's the biggest killer of men under 50. It's that highlights more than anything why us fellas need to do ourselves a favour and seek the help that is out there. But it's tough, and I know that. Next one, what can I do if I'm worried about my mental health? It's got some tips and all that. Talk to your GP. It's not always easy to get a GP's appointment, and it's not, I have a very good doctor. I've heard some stories about people who have doctors who don't genuinely understand. That can be difficult. Ring 999. Again, you're dependent on someone who has a level of understanding, and I'm sure most of them do. And literally, if you are in that position, ring 999. They do a great job, but sometimes that level of understanding can be wanting, and I'm just going off things that I've heard and experienced myself. And last one on this, I want to quickly go through. I'm worried about someone's mental health. How can I help them? Let them know you're there to listen to them without judgment. And it literally is, how are you doing? One thing I like to do is, we can all ask someone if you're okay. Are you okay? And if you ask a bloke, you will get, yep. Ask again, but serious. Are you okay? And if you're not, you can talk to me. That follow-up question sometimes kind of, blokes, their go-to is, yeah, I'm alright. That second question sometimes can sort of take them back a bit and think, do they actually want to talk? Are they okay? Maybe I can try and turn this on them somehow and see if they're okay and we can actually have a conversation. It's a little trick that I've picked up, and it works. It generally works, just asking, are you okay, for that second time. Someone who's experiencing mental health problems may find it hard to reach out, so try and keep in touch. There are things you can pick up which are not the most blatant of signs, which I'm going to get to in a future article I'm bringing up, which could be a signal that someone may be struggling. And it's little things that, they're not the big things. I think we would all see if someone's having a genuine mental health crisis and expressing it. We would pick up on that. Sometimes it's the subtle little things that are the things we need to look out for in the people we love. Find out about local services such as talking therapy or support groups. If you go online, you will find somewhere local to yourself. Thankfully, more and more people are talking about mental health. I wish more and more people would talk openly about their own mental health and the issues that they've had, not to glamorize it, not to say, poor me, but to say, look, if I can talk about it, you can too. And honestly, just acknowledging that issue and talking about that issue is so powerful and helpful. Help them to get help, reassure them. If you find a local group, go along with them, be a mate. I meet so many people who have never experienced mental health firsthand, or poor mental health firsthand, but are experiencing it secondhand and want to support their mates. And those people are salt of the earth. And this is a big one. Take care of yourself. Looking after someone else can be hard. So make sure you consider your well-being too. It's I think it's a fantastic article, and it really does delve into what to do, or certain things that you can do if you are having issues. What I would say is, if you're having a bit of a crap week, don't wait till it's a crap year and you've got to the point where you are at the bottom. Try and get on top of it as soon as you can. It was, I go to a support group. I help volunteer for this support group. I see a lot of guys. I see some guys who turn up, and the first thing they'll say when I say hello, welcome them in and introduce myself and everything. I'm not sure if this is the right place for me because I'm having a bit of a bad time, but I'm not that bad. Good. Come in and get on top of it now. I've seen other people who have made attempts on their life who then come to us. And that is a lot harder to sort of turn that ship around. But if you're at that point too, talking and being persistent and consistent and open as in talking, but also open to the help that is there for yourself. It works. It's difficult. It's hard. It can leave you physically and emotionally drained. But the outcome is, I've seen the outcome in myself. My family's seen the outcome in myself, and the outcome I've seen in other people. I know it works. It's not me saying, well, yeah, hopefully it works, and I've read it doesn't. No, I've seen firsthand. Seeking that help, finding those places. What I would say is if you try a place and don't go there once with a closed mind, with the belief that this is not going to work, and if it's not made me the happiest man on the planet after one effort, I'm not going back and that's it, done. I wish it was that simple. It's not. It's something you have to work on consistently. But eventually you turn yourself around and you get better. And sometimes actually I meet a lot of guys now who, I would put myself in this situation as well, where I was one of those guys who kind of felt hopeless. I help other people now who are feeling hopeless, and that makes me feel good. Not because I want gratification or anything like that. It's just I see myself in people. And there are a lot of guys like that who will help, and they're not helping because they're getting paid. A lot of these groups and stuff that's set up to deal with mental health are run by volunteers. Do not get paid, but are passionate about it because someone wants help them that way, and they want to help someone else that way. And that's why support groups work, because you will meet someone who might seem like the happiest person in the world. They've been through so much stuff that you haven't got a clue when you meet them. They know. They have turned their mental health around, and they see themselves in you, and they want to help you the same way that someone else did to them. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you are embarrassed, that's a big one, because we do feel it, and struggling, don't be ashamed to actually find the help and talk. But I know it's hard. This next article I've brought up here is going to delve into this, breaking the silence. This is on makingwellness.com. So, breaking the silence, 5 powerful reasons why men don't talk about their feelings. Talk is a word that has come up a lot tonight, and it's something that will come up a lot on future podcasts too. Talk. Because the more that guys do talk, and talk openly and honestly, the easier it will get for guys to actually want to talk and not feel embarrassed or shy or less of a man like I did about talking. So, University of Michigan study concluded that men and women share similar emotional highs and lows, meaning men are just as emotional as women. I can see some comments coming in for that, but it's true, men have emotions. And a lot of them come out as anger. Mine did. My anger was hiding a lot of sorrow, a lot of worry, a lot of depression. So if men experience similar emotions to women, why is it that men in particular often struggle to talk about their feelings? The reasons involve a mix of societal expectations, cultural norms, and personal fears. If you've ever found yourself bottling up your emotions or feeling like you can't express what's happening inside, you're not alone. Many men are in the same boat, which I've already touched on. And this silence can lead to a host of mental and emotional challenges. Understanding why men don't talk about their feelings is the first step towards breaking the silence and finding healthier ways to cope with life's difficulties. So, why don't men talk about their feelings? First one is societal expectations and masculinity itself. We're men, we want to be masculine. As what we do. Many men are taught from a young age that showing emotions is a sign of weakness. Phrases like man up or boys don't cry reinforce the idea that being a man means being tough and stoic. In the UK, some of the industries with the highest rates of men taking their own life are farmers, very masculine job, builders, scaffolders, these kind of jobs where you think they are men's men. You know what I'm saying? They are big, strong men. That makes it even more difficult to talk, because you've got this image that you've built up for yourself. How can you then have an open, honest conversation and say, I'm not good? Fear of being judged is the next one, which I've already said. Another significant reason men don't talk is fear of being judged in a society where men are often expected to be providers and protectors. Showing emotion can feel like a failure to meet those expectations. As I said, less of a man. That's kind of how you feel. Shame and guilt. Shame and guilt are powerful emotions that can prevent men from opening up about what they're going through. For many men, admitting they're struggling can feel like admitting they're not good enough. The sense of inadequacy can be overwhelming, leading to feelings of shame and guilt that further silence them. And then it's a vicious cycle. A lack of emotional vocabulary. One often overlooked reason men don't talk about their feelings is they may not have the words to describe what they're experiencing. And this is something I'd already touched on. even if you do talk, you fear that no one will listen. And it's not so much not listening, it's how do you get your point of view across? How do you actually say what you're doing? What is going on in your head? Without the right words, it can be difficult to communicate what's going on inside, leading to frustration and a tendency to withdraw rather than open up. And fear of vulnerability. Vulnerability is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's essential for building deeper, meaningful connections with others. On the other hand, it requires you to expose parts of yourself that you might prefer to keep hidden. For many men, the fear of vulnerability outweighs the potential benefits of sharing their feelings, which again can lead to not opening up, bottling stuff up and hiding it. It's a trait that is kind of ingrained into a lot of guys that I meet. It was ingrained into me. Blokes don't do that. And do you know what? Until I suppose become more emotionally mature, if a mate would have opened up to me, I'm not sure if I would have known what to have said. Again, going back to that vocabulary bit, I don't know what to say. One powerful thing I will say is, when someone is talking to you and reaching out, they're not necessarily looking for an answer. They're just looking for someone to listen. And just that listening, that ability to listen and maybe say, do you know what, I don't know how that feels, but I know how I feel about you, and I'll get you the help with anything you need. I will help you through it. And talk to me about everything. And that is such a powerful thing. I think blokes we lack solutions, you know what I mean? We okay, you've got this problem, do this, it fixes it. Mental health's not like that. And do you know what? Sometimes just being that ear, that shoulder to cry on, is one of the most powerful things you can ever do. Because then that person says, do you know what? I've got someone who I can just speak to honestly, not have to bottle this up. There's a mate over there who cares about me genuinely and wants me to talk to him, because he would rather I talk to him than when I've done something. Listening sounds easy. Listening can be very difficult, and it can. And when someone is talking to you, make sure that you are okay too. And then maybe you need to go and find someone else to talk to as well. But listening is every bit as powerful a tool as talking. It's no good talking if no one's on the other end prepared to listen to what you're saying. And I think, like I said, there's a problem, what's the solution? Sometimes the solution is just letting someone unload their problems. And it's difficult. It is difficult. I've got a couple more articles that I want to bring up quickly. Specifically digging into depression. But before I do, I come across a video fairly recently, and it's a video that I can't lie, when I watched it, I got emotional. I had a tear in my eye. And then I played the video for my wife, and she had a bit of a tear in her eye, but a wry smile on her face. And then she said, "That's you all over, like me to me." And I think that's why I got so emotional watching it, because it struck a nerve with what was said. I've already mentioned about how it can feel emasculating to say that you're going through stuff. You feel less of a man. And the reason I want to play this video is because this person who is less of a man for talking about it is Mr. Rocky Balboa himself. Sylvester Stallone. A man's man. I'm a big Sly Stallone fan. I love the Rocky films. On a side note, when the Creed films come out, I thought, have they ruined the legs here? No, they've done pretty well with them. Like, they're good films too. Except for Tony Bellew wearing his Everton shorts. He should have had a decent team like Liverpool. But Rocky Balboa, I will play the video, but just think not just what's being said, but actually who's saying it. And if someone like that can open up that honestly, listen to the words and see if it resonates with yourself like it does with me every time that I hear this video. And I will shut up drawing.
When a man is broken, you'll see it in the way he withdraws. He distances himself, even from those who care about him the most. He works more, talks less, and constantly seems exhausted, no matter how much sleep he gets. The stress of life weighs on him heavily, and he becomes easily frustrated or irritated, often over small things. He loses interest in what once made him happy, unless it's something that offers a quick escape, like riding fast with no destination in mind. His thoughts become a trap. He gets stuck in his own head, overthinking everything. Eventually, he shuts down, and when you ask him how he's doing, he'll say, "I'm fine." But that couldn't be further from the truth. He avoids sharing his pain because he doesn't want to be a burden. He'll carry the weight on his own shoulders, helping others through their struggles, even as he suffers. When a
There's a line in there which, if you watch me in the corner, you'd have seen me mutter along to it. I'm fine. I'm fine. That's what I said. I know I said at the start earlier on in this podcast. Sometimes the most important thing to do is ask someone if they're okay. And when they say, "I'm fine," follow it with, "But are you okay?" And if you need to talk to me. I will listen. I may not get it. I may not understand. But I care. And I want to help you through whatever you're going through. We can see sometimes when someone is genuinely going through a hard time. Someone loses a job. Someone is evicted from the house. There's a relationship breakdown. Death in the family. Death of a close friend. There are events that can happen in people's lives where we can say, right, that is such a major traumatic event that has happened to this individual. Let's keep an eye on them. Let's step up and make sure they're okay. Big things like that where it's sort of a warning light going off where you're going to pay special attention to that person to make sure they're okay. You're going to help them, support them through whatever they're going through. There are telltale signs when someone here is suffering with depression. These are telltale signs that are so obvious that you cannot help but notice it. And again, these are things that if you're seeing it, you're going to step in and stick up for that person you care about and try and point them in certain directions and be a friend, be a loved one. depression is not always that simple. It's not always that black and white. There are certain things that when you've been in it, when you have experienced depression, especially feeling that depression, going through it personally, there are things that people who've not been through it don't get. They would not have noticed at the time. There are things that I went through emotionally that honestly I still don't get. I don't get why it does that to you. I wish depression was simple. I wish it was simple to read on other people. I wish it was simple to understand it myself. It's not. I think if it was simple, we would have a clear answer what to do to make sure that it's eradicated, or at least less of a significant issue than it is in this country. It's not that simple. It's complicated. It's bloody hard. It makes no sense. Sometimes you scratch your head and you think, but why? I don't get it. And I have the volunteering work I've been doing for 6.5 years. I've met countless people doing that. Incredible people, different walks of life, different circumstances. They're all there for similar reasons. And there's other mental health conditions too as well. But I want to home in on depression because depression seems to tag along with a lot of other mental health conditions as well, at least in what I've experienced. 6.5 years been volunteering. I've been suffering with depression for a couple of decades. If I really look into it deeply, a couple of decades. And again, future episode, I will bear it all out. Not because I want people to feel sorry for me or say, oh, you're so brave. It's just if people like myself who are comfortable in talking, if they talk, more people hopefully will feel comfortable in coming forward in a small setting and speaking to a friend, whatever. I still don't get it. I don't understand depression. I think till the day I die, hopefully as a very old and wrinkly man, and hopefully a great granddad by that point, I still will not understand depression, despite having experienced plenty of it. But there are potential telltale signs of what to look out for. So to bring up this next article and things to potentially look out for. So this is on thepriorygroup.com. Depression in men, causes, symptoms and treatment. Depression in men can manifest in unique ways, but acknowledging the signs is the first step towards finding the support you need. Take control of your mental health. I'm not going to go and click through there, but let's have a little read through the article. So lots of men struggle with depression throughout their lives, and it can impact them in many ways. Some men struggle to talk about their feelings or reach out for help. In my experience, a lot of men struggle with that, which can mean their depression gets worse over time. This may be because they believe that depression is a sign of weakness, or they should simply man up. This is stuff we've already touched upon. For any man in this position, it's crucial to understand that depression is a completely treatable mental illness, and there is no shame in accepting help. So the signs. Now, the first ones are kind of what you would expect. So, overwhelming feelings of sadness and hopelessness. If you're experiencing that or seeing someone like that, you're going to know that they are having a tough time. For some people, it passes quickly. For some people, it could be a lifelong battle. Doesn't mean it doesn't get easier for those who's a lifelong battle. It's just those people, they will need continuing support. Feeling angry and irritable. I used to get angry. And I used to put it down to, if I'm angry, I can't be sad. It felt to me like a built-in defense mechanism. I didn't know how to talk, and then I'm frustrated, and most of the time I was frustrated with myself. Most of the time I was angry with myself. But I had nowhere to actually talk. I wouldn't allow myself to go and speak with someone. So then it would come out in frustration. Anxiety. I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know what depression was, to be fair. But I had no idea what anxiety was until I had an anxiety attack. And I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack. I could not breathe. My chest was tight. I was sweating. My wife, we were in a hot car at the time, and we were travelling up country for some family thing. And we were sat in traffic. It was a hot day. We ended up pulling off on the side of the road. My wife rang an ambulance and explained the symptoms I was having, and they said it's a panic attack. Take him for a walk. I'm like, it's not a panic attack. I'm dying. It was a panic attack. If you've had one, I'm not belittling it. They're bloody awful. That then led me to have an anxiety attack every time I got into a car, because I didn't want to have an anxiety attack because of how horrific it was. And that took me a good 6 months of some CBT therapy to basically rewire my brain to rethink it and say, yeah, I'm fine in the car. I've driven all around the country. You don't need to be worried about getting in the car. I never understood anxiety until it happened, and it's bloody horrible. Not wanting to spend time with your family and friends. When I was at my lowest, I'd become very withdrawn. The thought of actually seeing people was, I'm quite an outgoing guy. You know what I mean? Sort of a class clown. Loved being down the pub having a laugh. I didn't want to see people. I hid. It's probably the best way to describe it. I hid in my home. I didn't want to see people unless I had to. And fatigued or feeling tired all the time. I never used to. It really messed with my sleep. And that makes you feel even more tired. So yeah, I get that. So these are the some symptoms of depression are more likely to experience by men than women. And these are what they are. And these are stuff that you could easily look at as nothing to do with depression. But it could be. It could be. And it's something to have a little look out for. So anger and agitation. As I said, I got angry. That was my go-to. Most of the time I was angry with myself. But I was on edge. So then it wouldn't take a lot for me to be angry with someone else. Or to find something to be angry with. Reckless behaviours such as dangerous driving. I'm a fantastic driver, in case anybody watches. I've never sped except for the time I had to do a speed awareness course. Fantastic driver. But yeah, I get the reckless behaviours bit. Substance abuse is an issue I've had. a loss of interest in their family or hobbies. I actually convinced myself my family was better off without me. My kids are the best thing that ever happened to me, and that's what it can do to you. Working obsessively, I cannot sit down. This is actually really a struggle for me. I've been sat down for nearly an hour talking. My legs are twitching. I need to get up and do something. I need to be doing something all the time. Becoming controlling or abusive in relationships, not affected me, but sometimes that kind of thing can happen. I think a lot of that is, if you don't like yourself, then how can your partner like you? So therefore, you're trying to hold on to them, and I can see how that would happen. And last one, have difficulty sleeping. I've already mentioned, and I'm not a big sleeper, but I know, not a big sleeper, I'm good on 6 hours. That's how I've always been. If I'm having a bad time, if I get 3 hours, I've done well. And can you imagine having less than 3 hours sleep 3, 4, 5 nights in a row? What that's going to do to you is going to mess you up more. So those are just some things to perhaps keep an eye out for in yourself. Maybe keep an eye out for in people you care about, and if you're noticing it, have those conversations. See if they're okay. It's a difficult conversation to have. It is. If you're watching to this point and thinking, do you know what? I've ticked so many boxes along the way regarding the subject matter that I've talked about tonight, but what do I do? It's great that this dude's talking. Where do I go though? Where do I go? Genuinely, go online, search men's mental health groups near me, or support groups, or just men's mental health, whatever it may be, and have a little look through. That would be my advice. See what comes up in your local area, and it might not even be local area, it might be an online thing. Wherever, have a good look through. Give yourself that time. You don't have to tell anyone. Have a little look through. Myself personally, I managed to find a group that I went and tried. And the first time I went along, I went out of desperation, but I thought it'd be a one and done type thing and never going back. I'm coming up 7 years. I'm not far short of 7 years going there now. I didn't think it'd work for me because I'm a bloke and we don't talk about this kind of stuff. Years later, I'm now helping to run a group in our local area and doing a podcast where I'm talking openly and honestly, and I've done radio interviews and I've done talks with businesses and held stalls and everything. I know that actually talking helps. I wouldn't have believed it years ago, but I know the power of talking and also the power of listening. So give yourself the chance and find somewhere like that for yourself, wherever it may be. Don't try it once, try it a few times, and if that place doesn't work for you, find yourself the next one. Thankfully, more and more places are popping up that are there for the same reason, but maybe work differently, and what might work for someone else might not work for you, but it doesn't mean that the next place doesn't. Don't give up on yourself. Keep fighting. And it is a fight sometimes. It genuinely is a fight sometimes. But it's a fight you're capable of winning. But you got to put the hard work in. If you are still listening to this point, thank you very much. If you are in a bad place right now and thinking, where do I turn to next? I would like to just state that there is somewhere that is open 24/7 in the UK where you can go to, and it's a phone call, and these guys will talk to you and they will listen. And that's the most important thing I've already mentioned. They will listen. And that is the Samaritans. 24/7, they are there to give you that ear, to give you that opportunity to, again, talk. It's a common theme through tonight's episode, and a common theme, I'm sure, throughout this channel as we progress. But 116 123, free to call 24/7. There is someone there who is prepared to listen to what you have to say. It's a phone call. It's better than what the outcome could be. You know what I'm saying? Tough chat. I know. If you are still watching, still listening, thank you so much. It's much appreciated. And moving forward on this channel, we're going to be having raw, honest, open conversations like this. It's a subject matter I'm passionate about. I know the pain that not seeking help can create. I do know that. But we're also going to I'm going to have some mates on. We're going to try and do some more light-hearted stuff in the future. Try and have a bit of humour and a bit of positivity along the way. But it's always going to be, at its core, trying to help people. Because that's what we want to do. So, I was going to say, if you enjoyed it, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but if you found it helpful, please leave us a like. It helps with the algorithm, and if you think it was good, the more likes I get, the more it gets spread, and I don't know how it works. I'm not a computer guy, but sharing helps too. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, so next time I do a video, if you've liked this, then I'll try and make the next one better. I can't promise so, but I'll try. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I will see you later.